Hey, what's up everybody? I'm JayDreamerZ and today we're talking about the possibility of space not being black, but being white. We're going to get into the actual color of it because it might not be perfectly white. We're going to talk about that and many other things. I want to jump right into it. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. By the way, you're all very helpful, and I'm going to jump into the chat at the end of this presentation so that we can do questions and responses, and I can give a huge thank you to everybody for helping me out a few minutes ago. So without any further ado, I have found, and many others have found, that we live in a world that is upside down, right? Now I'm nervous. We live in a world that's upside down. It's the exact opposite of what it should be. Quite often we found that we need to kind of think about the exact opposite of the things that we're told. You know, like for example, when I watch the news, almost all the time, the opposite of whatever they say is typically the real news to me. But we do live in a backwards and upside down world. Now, with that being said, would it surprise us to find out that space, the idea of space as it looks to us from way down here and as we've been told of what it is, might be the opposite of that? So instead of space being black, could it possibly be on the other end, right? Space is full of light and very bright. We're going to talk about all of that, including the first thing I want to start off with is I'd like to do some screen sharing. We're gonna check out. Man, I have so much to talk to you guys about, especially when I jump into the chat. All right, so let's see here. Let's do some screen sharing, which is webcam. It's somewhere here. Oh man, what a day. All right. So the first thing I would like to do is I want to find the screen sharing, honestly. That's what I want to do. Webcam, where is everything? You know, I may have to add a little screen sharing just to start things off here. All right, while I add the screen sharing, I'm sorry. Let me just get this done first. I have a lot of stuff happening on this computer right now, and I'm trying to be very careful so that we don't get glitches and have more issues going forward. All right, let's see here. We've got screen sharing. There we go. All right, cool. There we go. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for Chef Boyardee, as they say. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing some pictures to begin with. We did have some technical difficulties to start. Hang in there if you're watching this video in the future, because it's going to get really good. We just had some technical difficulties to start. Man, what a bummer. Anyways, okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to share some of these pictures. Milk in space, the Milky Way, all the things that are associated with that, right? First, I want to talk about the bad guys and why the bad guys are associated. I can't do this. I can't get it right today. That's okay. We're winging it, man. Whatever. We're just going to pretend like it's a Tuesday. All right. So anyway, the bad guys are always depicted drinking milk. Why is that, right? Well, whenever we take a good, close look at all of these things, we find out there's a deeper symbolism going on. If you try to look up what is the symbolism of all the milk being drank by the bad guys in the movies, you're going to find people guessing and grasping at straws saying, oh, it represents innocence, and so it's a shock value thing. You know, they have the bad guys drinking milk to shock you or whatever. Let's take a quick look at many of the pictures that I found doing my research about why milk is associated with space. Now, right now, we're not associating it with space. We're associating it with the bad guys of the world, right? Typically. Well, wouldn't you agree? Many truth seekers out there have already come across this, that the bad guys of the world came from space or came from heaven or they fell from heaven, or many different ways to say this, right? Let's look at this guy, for example, right? First and foremost, he has a lot of telling signs about him. He's wearing black and white. I'm going to explain the black and white symbolism, specifically the black and white checkerboard floor and what the black and white contrast typically means. This guy clearly has a one-eye symbolism going on. The one eye is the eye in the sky. I will reference my plasma apocalypse material from time to time. So when I talk about the eye in the sky and people getting sucked up and the world depressurizing, things of that nature, please feel free to go check out my plasma apocalypse playlist and get caught up on everything. Look at this flesh tone. This is what I call the royal flesh tone. This is like a Caucasian kind of flesh tone, but all the blood is very flushed to the surface. You know what I mean? and he's got the black and white symbolism there, sort of a reddish hair. He is a descendant of those who came from space, which is what all the royal family are. They are descendants of the space travelers, or I call them the fractalverse sliders, the people who go from realm to realm out there in the fractalverse. They are the descendants of them. That's why you have the bad guys drinking milk. You see those angels that fell down or whatnot and changed our world. Move this up a bit here. This is their way. They have many symbols where they talk to one another. They let one another know what's happening through the use of their symbols, because a symbol upon symbol upon symbol is just a message, right? So you have all of this symbolism. Here's the Big Lebowski. Now, there might be some alcohol in that, but believe me, every drink he's ordered on the movie has had milk in it. And that's specifically for that reason. This isn't to shock you, to make you think the bad guys are just so weird, that they're drinking milk for no reason. No, man, they should be drinking something a lot like more grown up than the milk in the movies, right? But this is the reason why they do this. They hearken to the milk as a symbol, right? For the Milky Way, for space. We're going to break down Milky Way and all of that stuff here in just a bit. I do want to jump in the chat real quick. I want to make sure this is all working real quick. Is everything working? Is the volume good? Are we live? Is everything good? I just want to make sure, because I have a lot of stuff to cover. For those of you who don't know, I thought I was live streaming and I wasn't. So I've already said all this once already. So I kind of want to get caught up. Okay, I'm good. Mother Dragon says I'm good. I trust her. I'm good. Let's move on. All right, so you've got all the milk symbolism in the movies, right? This is the symbolism. The bad guys are saying, hey, we are inside. They put the milk inside of them, right? Inside, we're from out there. We're not natives. We're not from this world. We are from the Milky Way, from space. Hey, Steven, hey, thanks a lot for the pledge. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I will jump into the chat. I'm thanking everybody at the end of this video. So let's check out some of these pictures, right? How weird, some of the straight. Look at this guy. This guy drinks milk. Are you serious? In the post-apocalyptic world, milk is that important? I don't think so. Water is probably going to be that important. They stress these things. Not only that, but look at this guy. This guy is a clear example of a killer clown from outer space, which, by the way, is going to be the next video that I'll be doing. The very real killer clowns from outer space. Why they're always this pasty, pale, ivory, white color, right? Just like this guy, right? I actually have a picture of him. Here is The Rock, right? One of Hollywood's biggest stars, a big, bad dude, stopping to have a glass of cold milk, refreshing cold milk for children, right? As this huge alien craft goes behind him and the world is coming to an end. They are associating all that stuff. He's like, The Rock is basically saying, I'm not worried about it. I'm on their side. That's basically what's being said here in the message. Of course, we got the Big Lebowski again, drinking some half and half, aka milk as well. In Westworld, the milk symbolism is very, very, very prevalent throughout the entire thing. Not only do the bad guys, for some reason, have this obsession with drinking milk, which the reason is exactly why I told you, they're not native. They're not native to the world. The robots of Westworld, at least the bad ones, they're portrayed as wanting to drink milk, right? That's letting you know they're not human, not native human as you and I today are, right? Back to the Future, Lou, milk, chocolate, right? They make sure to point that out in the scene. Everything in the movies is important. Every frame, every prop that's in the movies is all done purposefully. He doesn't even look like he enjoyed that as an actor. Do you see that? Well, I don't blame him. Milk's disgusting in my opinion. I used to drink all the milk in the world. I was pro cow milk growing up. I wanted to be the healthiest person on the planet, so I drank gallons upon gallons upon gallons of cow milk. Excuse me. Just like Catwoman here. You're also going to see a lot of cat symbolism when it comes to space. We'll have to break that down another time. If you see dogs in space, that's just symbolic of the gods, or dog backwards, right? But this is Catwoman. She's pounding away at some milk there. Here's some more milk symbolism. Super Mario Brothers. Why is milk that important? You know, this isn't the cigarette company. This isn't the tobacco company or Big Pharma or anything. They've been pushing milk on people for quite some time. And not just milk, cow milk, okay? The milk that comes from the horned creature, All right, so there's a specific reason. I stopped drinking milk, cow milk, a while back, which, by the way, this is just my path. If you drink milk, man, I'm cool. Hey, you can drink milk all you'd like to. I'm just sharing my path with you guys. The reason I stopped drinking cow milk is because I'm not a cow. Imagine that, right? Anyway, let's get back to the milk symbolism. So you got these guys all wearing the black and white symbolism. Basically, what they're saying is, hey, we belong in space. We belong out there where there is eternal life, where there are the immortals, right? Where there are conditions that exist and less pressure pushing down on us, killing us all very quickly, right? Even Superman, he drinks milk. I mean, there's an advertisement for him drinking the milk and whatnot. But Superman, he's an alien. He's from another world. That's why they pick these people out purposefully, and I believe that a lot of them are probably in on it. I think it's a part of that whole deal with the devil that I talk about sometimes. David Copperfield, everybody is getting in on this whole like drinking milk. Look at this image. This doesn't make any sense unless the milk symbolizes something that goes along with the person holding it, right? It symbolizes space, right? It symbolizes the Milky Way galaxy. And I'm going to talk about and break down the etymology of the word galaxy, right? In just a bit. I just want to share some of the rest of these ones. But this is why, because space is white. Space is this opalescent, pearlescent, shimmery, shiny kind of a rainbowy white color. Like the rainbow colors are sort of reflected within the whiteness of space. And I'm going to explain that a little better later, but it's kind of like a pearlescent, opalescent type of a color. Here's another one from Westworld. Bad guys drinking milk. It goes right through them. This one's from a Netflix movie that's basically about the plasma apocalypse. And one of the camp counselors was drinking milk from a flask, right? So there's another contradiction there, right? Milk should be representing something that is pure and innocent because baby cows drink milk. Cattle drink milk. Keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so yeah, there's another milk reference. Of course, we also have these strange milk baths, which I have a lot of images of that I'll share with you in just a little bit. But people coming up out of the milk, people being covered in milk, this is symbolic of going back to their roots when they were that color. Because the Fantazoids out there in quote-unquote space, let's just say this, if space is white, wouldn't it follow suit that beings from space would kind of look like space as well? At least that's what the animals and that's what life here tends to do. It tries to kind of blend in with its surroundings or match its surroundings somehow. So it makes sense to me that those beings from space are typically very ivory skinned and almost look like they're albinos. You know what I mean? With different colors of eyes at various times. But yeah, they come from a white place. They come from space. They come from the heavens. They come from heaven itself, which is not a dark place. We all know where heaven is. Up, right? That's what they say. We're going to talk about heaven in a little bit too here. So they've got all these beings, all these people coming up out of the milk. That is them coming from space, right? This picture of her right now, right? This is her entering into our world from space. That's what that represents. Same thing in Westworld. All of these beings, they're created in space, right? The life-giving energy in space. And Westworld, all of the natives of Westworld are not natives of Earth, right? That's how you know that they're robots. They're created from this milky substance, and that they're not terrestrials, meaning locals, right? That they're the robots. There's another good one of the robots being made from this milky substance, from the Milky Way, coming from the Milky Way, basically, right? The Joker is another killer clown from outer space, which I'm gonna break down probably next week. But yeah, that's why they have that clown makeup being always that white color, because that's the color that they are when they come from space, right? And they both actually are killer clowns from outer space. All right, so we got Jim Carrey. He's just pouring milk on everybody. This is, it's sort of a joke. Sometimes they use this type of stuff as an inside joke. I want to stop real quick because I actually want to share this cartoon. This cartoon was made in 1940, and as you can see, it's called The Milky Way, and it's about these three kittens, another cat in space symbolism, right? These three kittens that go up into the Milky Way, and I just want to share for just a second, if I can find it. There we go. I want to share with you guys. Oh, because the reason I can share this, by the way, is because it was made so long ago that it no longer falls under copyright. It's actually in the public domain now. So stuff like this, I can actually share with everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and play this. I'm going to skip through certain parts of it here. So the kitties look up into space and they want to go up there. They want to see what it's actually like up there because they heard there's milk in space, right? So let's skip forward a little bit. They grab some balloons. They sneak out of the house and they float on up to space. They leave the local realm behind there. See how they put clouds out there in space? Now let's stop right here. They pass by the moon. Here's another milk reference to space. Now, people used to say, and sometimes still do, that the moon is made out of cheese. People jokingly said that. I tried to find where that came from. I tried to do the research and figure out where did that saying come from? Why would people ever say that the moon is made out of cheese? What a ridiculous thing, because cheese is a man-made thing. Well, it's not the cheese itself, but it's what cheese is made out of, which is the milk, right? Another association. Not only that, but if you look at the moon, it's the closest spatial thing out there to us, and it's pure white. It's almost as white as that glass of milk right over there sitting off to the side, right? The moon is white, and they say the moon is made out of cheese, a milk product, more milk symbolism, right? The Milky Way. Here's the trains, by the way. Let me go ahead and pause that one. We've got trains in space a lot, okay? Trains are going to be seen as a symbol of crossing between worlds. You have to take the train in order to get from one realm to another realm. Now the train is used, and actually I'm actually going to use an example when I read the lyrics to Cream's song called The White Room, because they talk about the train as well. But the train is what carries you from our realm, where we live now, to some other realm via the conduit of the vortex in the sky that opens up whenever our world depressurizes during the plasma apocalypse, right? It's the vortex in the sky, it's the rabbit hole, it's the Einstein-Rosen bridge, it's Doctor Who's tunnel, it's how Alice gets from one world to another. You always have to go through the tunnel. They symbolize that all the time by taking a train. You know, you've got Neo in the Matrix. He has to take a train to get between worlds, basically. You've got Harry Potter. They have to take a train to get from, the Muggle world to the world of magic, which is out there in space where everything is electromagnetic and plasma infused, etc. But here in the cartoon, as you can see, they go up to space, they go into the Milky Way, and there's all this milk everywhere. It's very white up there. I'm not going to play the whole thing because you kind of get the gist of it, right? But basically, that's how they're showing you the Milky Way is actually white. They're showing you it's symbolized. I want to be clear. I don't think there's actually milk floating around from cows in space. I don't think there's cow milk out there in space just floating around. I'm talking about the color of space. It's not black, right? When you look up at the sky at night, it's just like, you think about it, like, how could it be empty? How could it be that empty? Man, you would think that space would be just teeming and bursting with life and light everywhere, right? So that's why I wanted to make this video. All right, let me go ahead and stop screen sharing the cartoon there. You guys can look that up if you want to. It's called the Milky Way, and it's in Technicolor. For those of you who are interested, a little bonus. All right, let me get rid of this real quick. Yes, I am. Okay, cool. So we're back to screen sharing the images here. Now, when I talk about space being white, it's not just pure white. I don't think it's pure white at all. I see a lot of evidence through our interconnected subconscious and all of the egg, what do you call them? Easter eggs of life that are presented to us. Life kind of hands us our own personalized Easter egg, like a little secret, and the more we pick them up and the more we put some faith in them and collect them, the more life tends to hand us these Easter eggs of life, or breadcrumbs, as I call them, right? So look at the movie Annihilation. You see how there's this sort of wall behind her and it looks like a bubble. It's almost like bubble colored. That is the kind of white that I'm talking about. That is a pearlescent, opalescent kind of a color that comes along with space. You know what I mean? And you're going to see a lot of this as we go on. Let me see if I can move forward here. So here's a better picture of it. So when I say white, this from far away is going to look a little bit more white than it does colorful, okay? But imagine applying this to all of the vastness of what we refer to as space, right? I do think that space has a shape as well, which I'm going to be sharing with you guys. The reason I included this picture is because the color of the crocodile. This is a monster that was found on the other side of this wall right here in the movie Annihilation, right? This wall represents the barrier between our world, the world of the Muggles, and the space world, the world of the magic, the world of the gods, the world of immortals, etc., where the creatures follow suit and they are this white type of a color. You see it portrayed in the movies quite often, where beings from other worlds are more of an opalescent, shiny, whitish, pearlescent type of a color, right? That alien right there is actually, he's producing, I'll say, pearls, right? That's that pearl, it's the pearl color. Once again, see the skin tone? That's the skin tone of the Fantazoids. Those aliens that come from another world, you know, they're not grays. I mean, maybe some look grayish or whatnot, right? But they are this opalescent, pearlescent type of bipedal Fantazoids. Here's another clip from the movie where they actually go right into it. And this is from Star Trek. This one's really interesting because in this Star Trek, they can jump between dimensions, basically. And when they're in between dimensions, they are in what they call the mycelium network. The mycelium network looks a lot like what I believe space is, right? It's all lit up. It looks just like the Avatar world. It looks like bioluminescence all over the place. A very beautiful place to be. So beautiful that oftentimes people believe that they are dead whenever they enter into it, right? They're like, wow, is this heaven? Am I dead? It's all very beautiful. That's what space should look like, right? And I know a lot of you have shared dreams with me where you have said that you've had dreams about space and space is lit up. It's bright everywhere, right? I'm checking out the chat to make sure everything's still working properly. So any type of thumbs up would be great for me. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep on going with these pictures. So this is the mycelium network, right? That the Enterprise, or I'm sorry, the Discovery ship gets stuck in. Here's another depiction of heaven, right? Well, where's heaven? We all know where heaven is, right? It's up. Heaven's never down. People never depict heaven as being down. Now, I do have a theory about that, okay, as far as where heaven and hell are and what the differences and stuff is. Very interesting. We'll have to talk about that another time. But this is from the movie Ghost. This guy's about to walk into heaven. Does it look like a dark black space to you? No, absolutely not. It's colorful and it's bright and it's white. Did you see that? This is Star Trek. They're traveling through the mycelium network. See that? See how there are all those roads? They look like train tunnels, right? They look like the circuits of time. If you remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, you know, these are all the rabbit holes. This is probably a closer depiction as to what I visualize when I see space. It looks more like something like this, and I have a lot of examples of these as well. But space, to me, looks more like a spider's web or a cobweb, if you will, right? There's probably that's just how I describe it, you know? Every culture across time, we all describe things according to our own path. Well, I describe space looking like this, and this kind of resembles a spider web to me, or a cobweb, or, you know, various other things as well. Now, the reason I decidedly chose to describe it as a spider web is because of the spider symbolism that also is seen throughout the movies and television and stuff. Look at this. This is all very white and very bright. Imagine if this were a photograph that somebody took of space. This is also close up. This is something that space could look like. These are just some examples just to give you an idea of how full space should be. You know, space is the housing of all reality everywhere. Don't you think it should be full? Don't you think it should be bright and colorful and full of life, right? You don't look out in space and go, oh, it's all dead and black and, you know, I'm afraid to go out there and live out there because I'll die. And, you know, like, I don't know, man. Seems to me that space, we might have got this one wrong, you know? Check this out. I really like this image. This is what's in my mind whenever I think about space. At least one way of looking at it, right? Check this out. This is like the vein system of a heart. This is lightning shooting down. This is a close-up of some veins. I don't know what that thing is. What is that? One of these is the Grand Canyon. Branches from a tree, the cosmic web of the universe. Actually, that's how they call that, the cosmic web of the universe. This is because everything follows suit with the electromagnetics and the plasma that's basically everywhere. That's the shape it takes. It branches out. That's why we branch out. That's why you have certain trunks and then they branch out into smaller parts, just like that. You know, we follow suit with our environment, just like those who live in space follow suit and they look more of an ivory color. Or just like death here, right? Beverly, hey, just subscribed. Welcome, Beverly. So on the right, you see a picture of the internet. On the left, a neural network in a brain, which is also very much what I believe space is, right? And I did a whole video about it called, what was it called? Plasma Tentacles and Space Brains. It didn't get a whole lot of views. I highly recommend checking it out because I definitely can correlate the whole brain symbolism and why the bad guys want your brains and why there's space brains and all this weird stuff out there. It's got some real reality to it. Now, I think this is Doctor Strange. I believe he's flying through, you know, various realities. Look at what it looks like. Does that look like black void, nothing, darkness? No, it's very interesting. It looks like it's full of life and color, right? That's more how I see space being. Or Ant-Man, whenever he travels into what do they call that? The micro, I don't know what he calls his universe, but that's the fractal verse, okay? And he is a Fantazoid going from one reality to another, one norm to another norm, right? And he's traveling the fractal verse. This is space that he's going through. That's why he has to have all the, you know, gear. He has to be protected. And he's traveling. He's a fractal traveler sliding from one reality to another reality. That's Ant-Man. Now, this is a great depiction of space. I really like this one. This is one of my favorite ones. This is from the show Love, Death, and Robots. And in this movie, this guy wakes up and he looks out into like space and it's a spider web, basically. I mean, I don't know if it really is a spider web, but there are all of these weird spider-like Fantazoids all over the place. And that makes sense. Why do they have, you know, why do the tribal people across many lands talk about having a grandmother spider or a spider queen, right? Well, that's because that's how we describe those beings who live in the spider web, which is out there in space. That's another Ant-Man. Now this is synapses in the brain. Looks very much like space, or at least my concept of space. Here's Coraline, right? Coraline's mother, which is the other mother, turns into a big spider, and all of her reality turns into black and white. Very telling, very interesting. And she's just, all that exists is this web and things that are caught in the web. This is space. This is going from one reality to another reality. That's why, you know, whenever they want a blank slate, it's always that white room, because it's basically the Matrix. It's basically the giant I am, the giant space brain, God, you know, higher self. People call it very many things. This is also in the movie Ant-Man, when he goes into the smaller, what do they call it in Ant-Man? I call it the fractal verse, but Ant-Man, basically, this is space. Do you see how there's these giant tardigrades out there? The tardigrades are depicted as giant because they are Fantazoids, basically. And we may see giant tardigrades one of these days too. So there's a lot of clips of Ant-Man here. I'm going to skip past some of these ones. Here's Doctor Strange. He's out in space. Sure looks very colorful and full of life to me, right? Coraline once again. Here's the guy in Love, Death, and Robots. He gets out of this little thing where he's dreaming, right? He's dreaming and he thinks he has a grasp on what reality is. He wakes up and he's no longer dreaming. This is what he sees when he looks out at space, when he looks at the sky or he looks up or whatever. This is space. And this is how they depict him. Here's some screenshots from the show, right? He was actually sleeping in this device right here. So his entire reality was all a dream. And he wakes up and he's been aging and stuff. He wakes up and he sees the spider web of space. Here's another shot of it too. If you look up here, you can kind of see the legs of one of these Fantazoid spider creatures, and there's another one crawling back down this way. I think there's some off in the background too, actually, now that I look a little closer. It looks like there's a bunch of them. But those are the spider beings. Those are the Fantazoids. This is a piece of artwork that I found. This is basically space. You know, they're showing people, and people, this is why people like stuff like this, you know? Otherwise, this would just be weird. It would just be like, oh, that's very uninteresting and has no truth in it. But it does have truth in it, and that's why it's depicted like this. This is a shot from, I think it's called Coco. It's like that Mexican, the Disney movie that was like all about the Mexicans and the Day of the Dead and stuff like that. Well, whenever they go into the other realm or the afterlife or heaven or whatever, they look, and guess what it looks like? It looks like this. This is more what heaven looks like to myself, with strands shooting out all over the place, pillars connecting one place to another place, lots of multicolored lights all together with that sort of brightness to it, right? That's what space is like. That's what I think space is. That's how I like to see it, okay? I'll just say it like that. I am not an authority. I can't tell you what it actually is. And even if I went there myself, I would still only be sharing my experience and my perspective. So this is actually from a documentary about wormholes, and I wanted to take a picture of that. Hey, Jerome, welcome. Jerome's coming in. Anyhow, now this is a great one. A lot of people tell me, you need to watch Rick and Morty. You got to watch Rick and Morty. Yes, I know. But I don't really need to watch it, okay? What I need to do is find all of the breadcrumbs that it has. This is one of them. Rick and Morty, I don't even know what's happening in this, but they're traveling through space, if you ask me. I haven't even seen the episode, but they're probably time traveling or going from one reality to another, and this is the Rainbow Road. This is the Rainbow Bridge of the Norse. This is the conduit. This is the gateway. This is the portal. This is the tunnel, you know what I mean? That's what it is. Why is Eminem drinking a bunch of milk? You know what I mean? We know that he does not represent the innocence of life, basically, right? Well, that's why, because he's saying like, hey man, dye the hair white. That's also another reason why they dye their hair white as well too. They're basically just trying to look more like Fantazoids. All right, I'm kind of done sharing those particular images right now. I do need to check my notes, which are on the computer. Okay, now, the next thing I want to share with everyone are the lyrics to the song White Room by Cream. There's a band out there called Cream. It's like this rock band. Why would they name themselves Cream? You know what I mean? What a kind of, I don't know. That's like, if you want to name a rock band Cream, that's just weird. I just find that to be very weird. Let me bring it up. Cream, White Room lyrics. Here we go. So I'm going to go over these rather quickly. And I just want you to pay attention to the lyrics. Keep in mind everything we've already discussed, right? It goes, in the white room. No, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I don't want to get a copyright strike because that sounded a little too good. No, I'm just playing. All right. It goes, in the white room with black curtains near the station. Let's stop right there because that's already very telling. He's telling you, I'm in space right now. That's the white room. The white room is space out there, the final frontier, whatever's going on out there. In the white room with the black curtains. Well, what are the black curtains, right? And why do these people write like this? Why do they write these songs in a way that only expert riddle solvers can figure out what the hell the song's about? Well, that's because they're singing esoterically. They're not singing about, oh, I met a girl and I really miss her and I want to write this really weird esoteric song that's basically a riddle about how I just like this girl. No, I don't think so. I don't buy it, okay? It's about their deal with the devil. All these songs, you know? It's about the higher reality, and it's a big secret, right? Because certain people are privy and they want to keep it a secret because they want to leave when the time comes. But I digress. Let's keep reading. In the white room with black curtains. What are the black curtains? Those are the realms. We live in the dark room. We live in the black room. I did a video about this a while back, comparing the white room symbolism in movies specifically and the black room symbolism. All the time when a character is in the black room, something bad is happening, right? Something not too great is going on, right? It's a room of death. That's where we live. We live in a house of death right now, right? We grow old and we die. We know that's messed up. We know that's not the way it should be, but nobody's really doing anything about it, right? We're just kind of like, I'm gonna shoot for a few extra years longer than average, you know, like, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm kind of going off on a tangent there. My point being that the white room is space. The black curtains are the realms in between, okay? We live in the darkness. We can't see all of the light. Our world is not illuminated by the lights of space, by the grandeur of the heavens, however you would like to call it. We have a covering over us. We live in an enclosed system, and within that enclosed system, there had to be a light created just so that we could see, so that we're not completely in the dark. Our world is all the time at night. This whole world, even when you think you're living in the daytime, you're really at night. It's just that there's a light. Somebody switched on a light. It's like walking around with a flashlight. You know what I mean? That light is a focal point. And beyond our sky, or beyond the skyline, right? There is no sun. There is no focal point of light. Let me just draw a quick picture of this. Now, keep in mind, this is all just my path, my perspective. Sometimes I might state something as a matter of fact, but I don't really truly mean it as a matter of fact. It's just easier to say that sometimes, honestly. But to me, it's a matter of fact. So I kind of say it like that sometimes. All right, so let me go ahead and show you. I drew a picture here earlier when I thought I was live streaming. This is basically our world right here. We're going to go to camera 2, and I'm going to draw it out in a nutshell. I want you to have a better understanding of how I see the sun. We've got the ground. We've got the dome of the sky. Then we've got the plasma that shoots down, right? Excuse me. All right, plasma comes down, and then the plasma hits the dome. The light goes through at an angle, comes to a point of focus, and that point of focus becomes our sun, redistributing the light back down onto our world. So imagine this. On the other side of that lens, because the lens is what makes the sun, or the focal point, right? Just like in a magnifying glass, right? On the other side up here, there's no sun. This sun is shooting downwards. The light is coming downwards, right? So out here in space, there is no sun, because there is no focal point, because there is no dome, because there is no covering, and it's not an enclosed system. It's open, and it is self-lit. And if you need to know more about how that works, go ahead and check out my Plasma Apocalypse playlist, because I break it down a little bit better. But for the sake of time, we're going to move forward right now and go back to the live screen. All right, so let's go back to Cream's lyrics, In the White Room. In the white room with black curtains. That's space and the various realms of space that have all of their coverings, keeping them in darkness, or the black areas. This is the checkerboard. This is the chessboard. This is the black and white checkerboard floor of the Illuminati, etc. And that's what he's talking about. He's saying, I'm in space. In the white room with black curtains near the station. What station? Well, the train station. Of course, it has to be the train station. Why? Because he's going to go back and forth between worlds, right? There is this love song between an alien type of a Fantazoid bipedal being and the natives that live here in the dark areas, in the blackness of the world. Now think about this. If a person follow suit with their environment, then it stands to reason that the people who are not natives look like space. And if space is white, then those beings would be more lighter in color. And the natural inhabitants of this world, the natives of this world, they would follow suit and be darker in color. I'm just saying that's so simple that I love it. It makes the most sense to me. In the white room with black curtains near the station, black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings. Black roof, that's the dome, that's the black roof. You look up in the sky at nighttime, you can see that's the black roof. You're in darkness, right? Basically. Black roof country, no gold pavements. That's because we're not in heaven right now. Heaven is the place with the gold paved roads, right? Not the place of darkness and blackness. No, that's where we live. And that's why it looks like that from our perspective down here underneath a covering, okay? That's why it looks like space is all dark and black, because you're not really looking at space, right? Black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings. Well, what is a starling except for some sort of a winged creature or a flying being, right? So the tired starlings are the fallen angels, the quote-unquote fallen angels, who have come down into this world, and they're tired of being here. They're ready to go. They don't want... a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, okay? For more information on this, check out my NASA are the world's greatest doomsday preppers video. I talk a lot about the fallen angels, the Anunnaki, and NASA, and their relatives. All right, so he says, black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings. And then I'm going to read over the rest of this until I get to a certain part. Silver horses ran down moonbeams in your dark eyes. Dawnlight smiles on you, leaving my contentment. I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines. Stop. That's space. Okay. Now, not traditionally. I know. I understand. That's why we're talking philosophy right now. And that's why I love philosophy. We question the reality with which we are presented, right? That's actually a quote from The Truman Show, where Truman talks to his manipulator, his handler, his creator, if you will, the voice of what he thought was God. And he lives in the moon, inside of the moon, right? Anyway, just so much symbolism everywhere. I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines. Well, that would be on the other side of the lens covering us, right? Because the sun is created by that lens, so it must be inside of it. He says, I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines. He's waiting in space. Why is he waiting? Because he cannot come down into the black roof country, into this dark world, until the time is right, until the sky opens, basically. And this has a lot to do with the plasma apocalypse. But that's the time whenever the Fantazoids and the alien beings can come into our world, is when the plasma apocalypse is happening. I just want to jump in the chat, make sure everything's good. Are we good? I believe we're good. Man, I hope so. Anyways, all right. Let's continue on. He says, I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines. I'll wait in this place where the shadows run from themselves. Well, what kind of a place do you have to have in order for the shadows to all just kind of disappear in every which way? Well, you have to have a lot of light, right? That's what he's talking about in the white room, in space. There are no shadows out there, right? Now, I'm going to read the rest of this rather quickly. You said no strings could secure you at the station. The station is the train station, the place where where you start your journey or end your journey, and no strings could secure you, right? That's the plasma apocalypse. You need to be secured to something, and sometimes it's depicted as people being tied to a tree or tied to the earth, and they're kind of floating up. Anyways, for more information, check out my videos, please. Platform ticket, restless diesels, goodbye windows. Goodbye windows? Well, there's a lot of windows breaking symbolism in media. Anytime you see that, there's actually a lot of like snow globe breaking as well. I'll have to share that with you guys sometime. But goodbye windows, because during the plasma apocalypse, the world gets depressurized and all people's windows break out, right? Because of the depressurization. It's also symbolic for the great window, or the sky, that highest, hardest glass ceiling, as it's often referred to as. I walked into such a sad time at the station. So he came into our world whenever it was not doing too well. As I walked out, I felt my own need just beginning. I'll wait in the queue when the train comes back. I'll lie with you where the shadows run from themselves. So he's talking about being able to travel from one world to another, right? And he can wait, because out there is immortality. Out there is heaven. Out there is, the place where the gods live, the place of the immortals. There are conditions outside of this pressurized system where all this pressure is weighing down on us and crushing us, basically. They don't have the same atmosphere and conditions in space. Out there, and possibly even under us in the underworld, are conditions that allow people to live for a very, very long time, including the life-giving plasma and things of that nature. At the party, she was kindness, etc. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to point out? That's pretty much it. So a band called Cream, red flag. Making a song called The White Room, red flag, right? This is all just like, it's not just I guess you could call it circumstantial evidence, but I mean, for me, it's very weighty. It all weighs up. It all collects together. Let's see here. All right. We're going to move on to the next thing. Milky White space. We talked about the band Cream, the white room, the black curtains. These are just the biodomes. That's the checkerboard symbolism, which I'll show you guys as well. We talked about the white room symbolism. The white room is basically space. And the Got Milk commercials as well. I just wanted to put that out there. Of course, there's all the Got Milk commercials. Bad guys drinking milk. The moon being made out of cheese, which is a milk product, right? You know what? Speaking of milk, let's talk about the Milky Way. I would love to break down this word real quick. All right, we're going to talk about Milky Way. The word Milky Way, let's go to camera 2 because I'm going to go ahead and do some screen sharing. All right, so the word Milky Way comes from the Latin word Via Lactea. So let me go ahead and write this up on the board real quick. It means the way of milk, essentially. Via Lactea, if you can see that. There you go. So that is the Milky Way in Latin, right? So we're going to keep that up there. I'm going to also write the word galaxy. Let's write the word galaxy up here. All right, so there's the word galaxy and Via Lactea. Let's focus on galaxy real quick, right? Late Latin for galaxy is galaxius, okay? We'll go ahead and write that up there as well. So there's galaxius. And that's the late Latin. The new Latin from ancient Greek stem from the word galact, right? Galact. Just bear with me for just a second. I'm going to cut right to the chase. I can't find my eraser. Oh, there it is. So the root word for galaxy, according to this, is galact. And I'm going to spell it using American letters here. Galact. Right? It doesn't really matter how it's spelled. For the most part. Now, check this out. The root of this is gala. You see that? The word gala is the root. We get lactose from the later part of this word, right? This is lactose right here. Lact. That's where they get the milk from, right? And that just has to do with pronunciation. Over time, different dialects, different ways of speaking, people start pronouncing words differently, right? But the root word there is gala, which basically means milk. And you can look this up rather easily on the internet. Just type in gala, and what does gala mean? Now think of the word gala, and I think of a dance. I think of like a big masquerade ball. It's a gala. I mean, I don't know how else people call that, but I also find that to be very much interrelated. But let me look at the word gala real quick. It means milk, milky sap, and Milky Way. Now, somebody had recommended I rewatch the movie The Fountain, which I did. And in The Fountain, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, he totally goes Wolverine for a moment in that movie too. But Hugh Jackman gets to the tree of life, stabs it, and in order to live forever, he drinks the sap that comes out of the tree of life. Guess what the sap looks like? It's milk. Exactly. It's basically white, pure white milk. It looks like paint, actually. So the root word is gala. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So the root word is gala, galaxy, right? So galaxy, gala is the root word. Sorry, it's a little messy there. So a gala, that's how we pronounce it here in America. Whenever people have a huge get together, it's usually a lot of very rich people. They throw a gala. Same thing. It's milk. That's when you see all these people together at a giant masquerade ball and all those rich people there for, I don't know, they have to pay to come to the party or whatever, all that stuff. That is just a physical representation of milk, basically, or space. A gathering together of people who are either from space or related to those who are from space. They have their progeny is from space, basically. And that's why you always have them throwing together these huge parties known as galas or galas. Same thing. Galaga, there's a video game called Galaga, right? That's the same thing. The root word is milk. And let's see, I just wrote down in the notes, a gala is also a gathering of wealthy people, a party, a dance, a masquerade, etc., and so on and so forth, right? And this actually is directly related to the word for one of the goddesses, right? This is Galaxia. It's one of the goddesses there. So that's a female. That's the female that they worship, which is Galaxia. I'll just go ahead and write that down real quick and then we'll move on. So, Galaxia, Gala, you got the X and then you got Ya right there, but we won't worry about that too much right now. I did want to point that out. So, that is the root of galaxy or the Milky Way. Via, what was it called? Via Lactea, right? The way of milk, the Milky Way. Space, basically, right? It's absolutely, the root of it all is milk, that milk color. All right, so let's go back to this live scene here. I'm going to check some more of my notes and then I'm going to share some more images with you guys. We talked about the moon being a crystal clear example of what you can expect when you look out in quote unquote real space and look at all the other places out there. The moon is white. Man, why is it that white? Free your mind just donated $1.99, says the astral plane is complete whiteness. Whoa, nice. I'm actually going to show that in some pictures here in just a minute. All right, so let's see here. Stars are white. Oh, yeah, that's another thing too, right? Look up at space. What color are all those stars? Well, for the most part, they're all pretty much white, and occasionally they'll blink blue or red, which is the color of the plasma above us. So go figure, right? Of course, the stars are white. Of course, the moon is white, but then everything else is just all black and empty. Not in my mind, not in my world. But hey, that's the freedom of having philosophical thought, right? We can adapt, we can move, we can be formless and shapeless like water, just like Bruce Lee says. All right, so let's see here. We talked about Westworld. I'm just catching up on all my notes. I want to make sure I don't pass anything up. Let's talk about heaven. Everybody knows heaven is white. This is not new information. Let me go ahead and bring up some images here that correlate with what I'm talking about. Alrighty, let's see here. White heaven, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to share some of these images here. Well, all dogs go to heaven. That's a good place to start. One of my classic favorites. I like these movies, these cartoons that are not Disney cartoons, the older ones, you know, before Disney had a monopoly on cartoons. I like these old ones, like The Secret of Nim, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Five Goes West, all that type of stuff. Anyway, so here's their depiction of heaven. Does it look like space? Nope, it does not look like space. Now, some people might argue, well, you know, it's up in the clouds. Well, we all know heaven is not in the clouds. Children know heaven is not in the clouds. We all know heaven is like far away. It's someplace that you can't really see, okay? So why do they depict heaven as being in the clouds so often? Well, that's because clouds are white, typically, okay? And then they also, they go on with their artistic license and they color in everything else around it. They're very much showing you heaven, aka space, aka the place of the gods or whatever individual gods, you know, that exist or whatever, that it's all very colorful and that there is a whiteness to it, that it's not dark, you know, like we might think because we look up and we run out of hope because we're looking at the ceiling, you know. This is actually heaven as depicted in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, right? They've got death walking past them, but that's heaven. It's all white. We all know heaven is a place of brightness and whiteness. Well, let me ask you a real simple question. If you were to point in a direction, if I say, hey, which direction is heaven? Where's heaven? Most people would point up, right? Now, you know, more critical thinkers, they would know. They could probably point in any direction, etc., right? But generally speaking, we know that heaven is up there. Well, what else is up there? Space is up there. Why is it that everybody in heaven is always wearing white? Why is it depicted that way? Oh, because they're just holy and they're just so clean. They've got all this white stuff, and so they really want to go about showing off how clean they are by wearing white all the time. You know, like that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? There's got to be more to it than that. Perhaps they have these characters wear white and dress in white because they can't actually hire actors that are pure albino pearlescent, opalescent in color, right? Typically, they'll hire Caucasians, or if they're not Caucasians, they will certainly make sure you wear some white because it's symbolic of the white beings, right? That's what that is. And heaven is white as well. Death, by the way, is just, this represents Kronos, which is one of the old gods. Hey, welcome. D-Man Movie 50. I'm going to totally jump in the chat. I'm welcoming everybody, saying a huge thank you, and we're totally going to do questions and responses when I'm done. So anyhow, that's heaven. Now, this is the Elysian Fields. This is how the ancient pagans used to refer to as heaven, as all of these stalks of wheat just growing up all over the place. Do you see how that looks? This is their concept of heaven. Not emptiness, not a vacuum, but like hairs and strands growing all over the place. This is the Elysian Fields. Here's the movie Ghost. Whenever I know a lot of people out there are like, "Oh man, I totally remember that part." Well, I cry every time I watch this movie, so you're not the only one. Anyway, he goes back into heaven. Look what heaven, what color is that? That's opalescent. That's the rainbow color. That's a pearlescent color, right? This is from a television show that I'm currently watching. So no spoilers, please. But I'm currently watching, I'm just kidding. This is called Good Omens. Good Omens. Now, in Good Omens, it's basically the heavenly fight between the angels and the demons, right? And this picture is them in heaven. This is their office space, I guess, in heaven. They actually have this globe Earth just floating right there to let you know this is heaven. Well, if that's the globe Earth and they're in heaven, and we're told that space is around the globe Earth, that means they're in space, and space is white. Like 1 + 1 = 2. This is very simple. Like, here is an angel. These are all angels, by the way, as depicted. They're all wearing these lighter colors because they're all Fantazoids. They reflect their surroundings, which is space, which is white. This is the little squirrel in Ice Age entering into heaven. You see how it's not just pure white. They make it sort of an opalescent, they throw in some colors in there. You know what I mean? So when I say space is white, I'm not saying pure white. I'm saying colorfully white. Okay. Now here's another one. This is called The Good Place. I think this is on Netflix. I've only seen a few episodes of it, but basically these people go to the afterlife. They all die, and then they watch this little presentation by God, who's played by Ted Danson, right? And God is in this white room. Well, God lives in heaven, right? And heaven is white because Ted Danson is in heaven. He's God, and it's not even difficult. Heaven's white. Space is white, right? Here's another commercial for The Good Place where you got this guy who's playing God. You know, he's already got the white hair, so he's kind of a shoo-in. And then they just put him into a white room. I forgot what this is. This is called like The End or something. I have not seen this movie yet, but I probably will watch it because it looks like it's filled with esoteric symbolism in the guise of jokes and mockery and ridicule, etc. But this is supposed to be heaven. See, they're all wearing their little halos, and see how everything, even the palm trees, are all white in the background there. There's Seth Rogen. This guy, I'm not surprised if he knows some stuff, okay? As well as all his little gang and group of friends. But that's for another time. Anyway, he's in heaven. He's got this halo. Everything's white. They're all wearing white. The dog, aka the god in heaven, etc. Vanilla Sky. Somebody in the chat actually mentioned this one earlier. That was a good pickup, okay? The whole concept of Vanilla Sky is that this world that Tom Cruise is in, it's not the normal, regular world. It's not our world. He's not alive, so to speak, right? And so the sky is always this sort of pearlescent, opalescent, rainbowy, whitish kind of a color, right? And in order for him to leave that place, which is not Earth, okay, as we know it, he has to jump. He has to fall, okay? He has to fall down into the real world, the world of the real, or our darkened, covered, tent-like snow globe like world, basically, right? It's the jump program. I will do another video about the jump program as it's been seen on various movies, but let's move forward. So you see how they color the sky? They didn't do that just to make the sky look pretty. They did that because it had to be done that way because of what it represents. All right. Oh, you know what? Speaking of heaven, hey, Cactus J2K has become a member. Welcome. You guys are all coming up out of space. I try to do something cool for everybody. By the way, those are Oreos. I know. If you don't like Oreos. But anyhow, this black and white, the symbolism. I want to go back to screen sharing for just a minute because I want to talk about heaven. I was once I was very much into being a biblical scholar. And that being said, I studied the heck out of the Bible in many different ways. I was going to be a youth pastor at one point. I was very much into the Bible. It's one of the books that I have read forward and backwards many, many, many times and just dived into. So I want to talk about that because we got to talk about the Bible and talking about heaven, right? At least for a moment, all right? Bear with me. This is going to take about 30 seconds for you to understand the concept of heaven. Now, in biblically speaking and traditionally speaking, according to mainstream Christianity, there are 3 main levels of heaven. Most people will describe it like this. You've got the earth, and then you've got our atmosphere, which is heaven number 1. And then you've got space, which is heaven number 2. And then you've got, and then you've got this one, which is heaven number 3, okay? The top heaven, heaven number 3, is only ever described as that's just the place where God lives, right? No one knows where it is, but it's somehow beyond the infiniteness of space. It's way out there. I don't know. That's where God lives. I don't want to get too much into the religious aspect of things because, hey, I'm cool with that. People are free to believe in whatever they would like to. But let me redraw this and I'll show you the 3 heavens. All right. Man, I got to find my eraser. I don't know where I put that thing. Anyway, let's erase this. And I'm going to draw you the 3 heavens real quick. All right, here is the world. Boom. All right, check this out. Inside of our world, there is a dividing line in the sky. Okay? So that's inside of our world. This is heaven number 1. Okay, this is the sky where the clouds are, etc. Up here, above that line, gravity, what we call gravity, flips around and it goes the other way, which means it causes a secondary sky. This is the second heaven up here. For those beings that live up here. Okay? Because this goes all the way around. If that sounds crazy, that's okay. I totally get it. But if you want to know how that works, you got to go check out my Plasma Apocalypse video where I break down the mechanics of how gravity wraps around our world like that, right? So that's the second heaven. The third heaven, very easily described as being out here. Right? That's the third heaven. Right there. So you got the first heaven is just down here in our atmosphere where the clouds are, everything that's local, right? Then you have the second heaven, which is up there closer to the enclosure, the top of our world, okay? Then you have what is beyond the top of our world, which is the place that you can't see where God lives. You can't see it because there's actually a barrier up there preventing you from seeing it. Not only that, but the light is coming downwards, which means it's shining right into our eyes. You can't see space because of that, However, there's good news because I believe that the time will come when light will reverse directions and instead of coming down, it will go upwards, which will illuminate that third heaven, basically. All right, so let's go back to some of these pictures I just wanted to share of concepts of heaven. This is from a really awesome movie called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. A lot of people have already understood Robin Williams knew some things. And he was definitely involved in some deeper meaning, some movies that have a lot more esoteric themes to them, right? And as you can see, that's not a place of darkness either. That's all very much golden roads paved with gold, the color gold, right? Not actual gold, because who cares about actual gold? It's just the color gold. It's the beautiful yellowish gold kind of color. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and let me pull up a different folder here real quick. Don't they say when referring to like a heavenly place that it is the place of milk and honey? Right? Hold on one second. Let's do the black and white symbolism. That's a good one. So they say it's a place of milk and honey, like a land flowing with milk and honey. Milk, white. Honey, gold. The roads paved in gold, etc. That's heaven. That's how space is being described, and that's how the heavenly places are being described, right? So here's the Terminator. I want to talk about the black and white symbolism real quick, and the bad guys basically hopping from world to world to world to world. And the thing that makes them bad is that they break that cardinal rule of the Star Trek universe, where you're not supposed to interfere in the natural development of those worlds that you visit. Well, these beings, these fallen angels, definitely did that. It's been recorded across every religion, every culture talks about how the angels fell down and they started teaching, the native inhabitants all of this advanced technology and stuff that they were not supposed to do. So it wouldn't blow my mind too much if the old space sheriff, was after the bad guys who are hopping from world to world doing things they're not supposed to do. Here's another great example of the checkerboard floor. This one has even more symbolism in front of the mirror, right? Because the mirror is how you go from one world to another. You have to go through the mirror. The mirror is the glass. The glass is the covering above us, basically. You have to walk through the mirror, walk through the glass, break the glass, essentially, in order to get to the other worlds. That's why you have to go through the looking glass in order to get to other places. This guy's wearing the white gloves as well, by the way. Here's George Washington. This picture is not typically shown in many school systems. And if they do, they don't really break this down, right? But anyhow, this is the leader of the free world today, basically, at some point in time. I don't know, it kind of looks like a killer clown to me. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that another time. He's got the one eye symbolism right there. That's the one eye symbolism of the plasma apocalypse. This is space that he's standing on as a chess piece himself, hopping from world to world in the grand game of life, basically. Here's another checkerboard floor in movies. I find this to be interesting because they're wearing these black and white stripes, right? The black and white that's related to space itself, right? If you look at like the white part being space and the black part being the enclosed worlds, right? And the bad guys typically wear this black and white stripes. People who used to go to jail, they put them in black and white. Here's some more imagery. This is from Ultraviolet. It's a movie called Ultraviolet. And everyone is dressed up in the white because they are representatives of those from space. Now, her white turns into red because she actually starts to represent the plasma instead of being an actual Fantazoids. But they're fighting in the black and white world. It's this, this higher battle, this heavenly battle, if you will, that's going on between space travelers, basically, between the angels of heaven. This is more black and white stuff in the music industry. This is from some website. Somebody took some images of the different things. This is from a movie, 2001, A Space Odyssey, right? He's going through. Now that sort of octagon shape, that's also the umbrella, okay? That's the Umbrella Academy. That's the Umbrella Corporation, etc. He's wearing red, once again, just like you saw that other girl wearing red, representing the plasma or the plasma apocalypse. Here's another great piece of artwork where you've got the black and white checkerboard floor that leads you through the womb or through the rabbit hole or through the Einstein-Rosen bridge, whatever you'd like to call it, into the land of wonder, the Wonderland, right? Typically only rich people will be showing off their black and white checkerboard floors too, by the way. That's another indicator. Hey, Dr. Jundin Frey just subscribed. Welcome, doctor. Now we got two doctors. Ooh, that's interesting. All right. So anyhow, all the rich people, they're going to be the only ones that really have this checkerboard floor. Not always, but they're the ones that show it off. You know why? Because they're directly related to the space travelers, to the aliens, to the gods, to whatever you want to call them, the angels, whatever. They know this is a family secret, and it's punishable by death, believe it or not. Here's another example of them running around on the checkerboard floor. This one's from Harry Potter, right? You've got the classic, action game of chess or whatnot. This is from Alice in Wonderland. She's standing on the checkerboard floor once again because she is a fractal traveler. She's a Fantazoid, basically. She's traveling from one dimension, from one reality to another reality. This is from the movie Alice in Wonderland. They just had... They had some fun with the black and white floor there. This is Katy Perry, who obviously has already admitted to signing a deal with the devil, right? Which are just, the devil is, or I'm sorry, the devil are those beings who are here who are the descendants of those who came from space or are still alive today and they came from space, basically, right? So her deal with the devil, this is the checkerboard floor. She's wearing, instead of red to represent the plasma, she's wearing a fiery outfit or whatnot to represent the plasma, right? All right. Then, of course, we've got the matrix, right? And there's the cat in space symbolically, right? Because the checkerboard floor represents space. There's another cat in space for you. Here's Disney. They're huge on the black and white symbolism, the checkerboard floor, etc. The Castle of Illusion. You know what that reminded me of when I saw the Castle of Illusion? I don't know how many Doctor Who fans we have out there. I know we have at least one. But in Doctor Who, there was this amazing episode where Doctor Who gets locked away on this island that's just a castle in the middle of like this ocean, right? In the middle of nowhere. And it's such a good episode. But anyhow, long story short, in order to get out, Doctor Who has to punch, like for thousands and thousands of years. He has to break through this ice wall. Now, it's not really ice, but it looks just like ice. It's basically diamond. It's this hard glass-looking structure in the movie. He can't get out of this bad dream that he's having until he punches one dream at a time. He gets like, a couple of punches every dream he has. But he dies at the end because this thing's chasing him. And then he has to wake up and re-experience it all over again. And he has to remember how to get out. And so at the end of that, at the end of each little dream, he goes and he gets a couple of more punches on this like diamond wall, this glass wall type of thing. And each time he just kind of whittles away at it for like billions, like a billion years. I don't know, a long time, a super long time. He finally breaks a hole into it and then he escapes that dream world, right? Interesting story I wanted to share with you guys. Here's MJ wearing the red, the plasma, boom. And he's dancing all around the galaxy there, stepping on the black and white checkered floor. I know there's some other stuff in that picture I'm not going to talk about right now. We've got the Queen. We've got these guys dressed in their red or their purple, etc., walking around the checkerboard floor because they're rich, because they're royalty, because they're directly related to beings from space. They are the leftovers of the ancient fallen ones, basically. And this is their homage to that. They know what's happening. They know it's a game. They know they have to jump strategically from place to place and not get caught. This is from Roger Rabbit. You got the baby walking off the checkerboard floor over there. Oh, by the way, Roger Rabbit is also a Fantazoid. There's a reason why they're always having the white rabbit in the movies. And that's because of the beings from space being white. Just like, the white animals that are supposed to show up in various cultures and stuff to indicate that it's a new era or the beginning of the dawn of time or the end of the world or whatnot. These white animals show up. Well, they're not white animals. They're Fantazoids from space. There are creatures from space. And Roger Rabbit is basically depicting one of those creatures. There's MJ, again, wearing the red with the checkerboard in the background there. I don't know who this teeny bopper group is, but I found the picture of these guys dancing on the, gosh, man, it's so ridiculous. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't know. There's a classroom, they want you to go and learn all of their Illuminati symbolism and stuff there. So they have the checkerboard floor. It's not just because people like it. It's not even likable, really. It's not beautiful. Black and white squares all right next to each other. I don't find that to be very beautiful or anything. It's just black and white squares. You know what I mean? It's actually lacking a lot of beauty, if you ask me. And this girl, I think that's Gwen Stefani. I don't know. I can't tell. But these guys are all on the checkerboard floor. They're wearing the black and white, representatives of those who are the space travelers, basically. They all have their magic wands. That's interesting too. The ancient gods all had magic staffs. They had access to this technology. And she's riding the white horse. The white horse is just a Fantazoid, some sort of creature that's from space. That's from the Fractalverse, okay? Because space is such a limited concept. I like to refer to it as the Fractalverse because it goes on infinitely, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's an illusion. It's not really getting bigger. It just seems to be because you can go back the other way and everything gets smaller and smaller and smaller, but it's just an illusion, right? It's all just comparative. Here's another music video. This is from The Big Lebowski. I mean, that's literally a staircase of black and white checkers going through space, right? There's the Matrix one, and this one is more of the spiral staircase pattern. That is also the train. That's also the spiraling plasma, the one eye in the sky, the vortex, and that's why they do it like that. The Vans, the shoe Vans. I used to have some of these when I was a kid. I don't know if I got the checker ones. Those were very popular in the 80s. But look at the company name, Vans, right? Vans is just Vanir. The Vanir are the immortals of Norse legend. Thor. Oh, I don't know if Thor's a Vanir. There's actually two classes in the Norse legends. But the Vanir were a form of angels or a form of immortal beings that came from the world above, right? On the great cosmic tree, Yggdrasil. All right, so that's enough of sharing those images. Let me see what else I have. I think I built one more folder of images I wanted to share with people. We've got the White Room images. Okay, so let's check out the White Room images. Now, here's a White Room, and this is from Prometheus. It's basically a continuation of the Alien movies, right? You know, Alien with like the mouth comes out of the other mouth. Those are Fantazoids, by the way. All right, so we've got the White Room. Now, in this particular scene, you've got a robot who looks human and a guy who's basically playing God. And you also have the piano, which is more black and white symbolism, and the introduction of music as well. I don't know what this is from. I thought this is from one of the X-Men movies, but I couldn't remember. But I did like this picture, just a guy in a white room. This is also the movie Ultraviolet. And the reason they call it ultraviolet is because I believe a lot of these beings that live out there in space where there's different wavelengths of light, they can see into the ultraviolet spectrum. They can see into the infrared spectrum, maybe even into the X-ray spectrum. I'm not sure, but I know Superman sure can see into the X-ray spectrum, right? But that's why they call that ultraviolet. And that's why these guys are wearing all white back here behind her, because she's battling against the Fantazoids. These are the space travelers, you know, and that's probably why they're wearing special masks so that they can breathe, you know, in the different pressure or different atmosphere or whatnot. Various music groups all singing their songs with a white background in a white room. The Matrix, obviously, all white in the background. This is the place out there. That's where anything can happen. Out there is where worlds grow into existence, and those worlds can bring about anything. It's very much open to any possibility. Here's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Once again, we've got the white room and the main character wearing red once again. This is one called Nothing. I don't know. It's just some movie poster. These guys are in like... Oh, and it's from the director of Cube, which is very interesting as well, right? Cube is a death room. So the cube represents the snow globe, I think. I don't know. I'm still kind of working that one out. But yeah, I think we live in Pandora's box. You know, this is the place of death. This is the black room. Here's another white room where you've got another robot that looks like a human. Are you starting to pick up on something? Are you starting to pick up on a theme here? That the robots are looking like humans and they're the ones who are made in the white room, and then they go into the black room, etc. And then they try to kill their creators because they're really mad at them and they don't like all the rules and they don't like the restrictions. I'm seeing a theme that resonates quite a lot with reality. I don't know what movie this is from, but I did pick this out from a movie. This guy's in another white room. Here's one from Star Trek: The Next Generation with my favorite character ever, Q. And he says, "I told you, you're dead. This is the afterlife, and I am God." He's totally playing a joke on Kirk. I mean, not Kirk, on Picard there. But they're in space. We all know they're in space, and he's in a white room. The progressive chick, always in a white room, right? This is all space. This is the place of possibilities. Here's where the queen devotes herself to the opposition, basically, by becoming white. Now, I'm not trying to go the race route as far as the colors of humanity goes. However, many groups have gotten parts of it very much correct. And that's why we have certain attributes across the different spectrum here in this world, right? I don't know what movie this is from either. I can't remember some of these. Oh, this one's from Doctor Who. And they actually go into this white world there, and time is acting very funny. I can't remember the entire episode. Oh, this one's a classic. This is from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, not the new crappy one. Let's not even talk about. Let's pretend like that one was never made. This is from the good one. Okay, this is from the good one. Now they're in a white room, and what happens is when this kid teleports and he goes through, he takes the train. Basically, he doesn't really take a train, but that's what he's doing metaphorically. He teleports and he goes into another reality, which is this black box, the TV, right? And automatically you see that he is much, much smaller than everybody in the white room. They look like titans and giants in comparison to this kid who used to be there. He went into the black room, the black curtains, the dark room, whatever you want to call it. That's our world. That's where we live. And we're all very small down here. And those beings that drop down into our world at first appear to be very large. But if they stay and they procreate, they will get smaller and smaller and smaller as time goes on. Because just like a goldfish, if you put it into a really big tank, it's going to grow to be really big. If you go out into the vastness of space, you're going to grow to be really big too. But if you come down here into a confined, limited bowl of a world, it's going to be dark. You're not going to live forever. You know what I mean? I mean, there are exceptions to everything, but you get smaller, basically. There's the movie The Arrival, and there's the whole concept of walking into the white light, right? Why is it that when people die, they see the white light? Why is heaven this white light, right? Why is the white light associated with alien beings or walking into some door that opens up and there's this brilliantly bright white light, right? Here's one from the Hunger Games where the dude who's in charge, basically playing God in the world, right? I forgot his name, but he's all in white. They're all in white. This is symbolically telling you. It's so easy to break down movie symbolism, which is what I do from time to time with my other segment, Truth in Movies. But yeah, they're representatives of the space people, the people from space, This guy, Peter or Petey or whatever his name is, he actually made it into space because he's wearing white. The music industry, white all over the place. Why is that? Well, because the white beings, those angelic beings that fell or came down or landed here, etc., one of the things they taught the natives was how to play music. That's one of the main things that they brought to this world. Here's another robot in a white room wanting to be more alive, wanting to be human, basically, right? Very interesting. I can't remember what this one's from, so I'm going to skip that one. Oh, wow, this one is a great one. This is an episode of Black Mirror where this girl dies and they implant her memories into an egg, okay, a little white egg, and she's living, the egg is a computer, basically. So she wakes up and she's in a blank room that's just all white. There's a couple of like control consoles or whatever, and she's wearing black as well. So keep that in mind. But she wakes up in this white room, and then the gigantic guy is on the other side of that egg, okay? Also in a white room of space, okay? He's Titanic. He's out there in space. She's inside of a closed system, which is this little egg computer that they put her memories into. And they screw with her, basically. I don't want to get too much into that episode, but it's a great episode. And time acts a lot different, too. I will mention that. The concept of time and how time moves differently for those who are out there in space. So, for example, this guy, he could just wait around 5 minutes. That's the reason why he's holding some bread, because he's going to make some toast. So he's not going to talk to this lady. The whole screen is going to shut off and she's going to be stuck in this white room until he's done making toast. Well, in her world, it takes him like 5 years to make that toast. But in his world, he made the toast just like that, turns on the little egg that she lives in, and he's like, hey, I'm back from making my toast. And she's like, oh my God, someone to talk to, It's a very good episode. But that's how time works so much differently, because this guy essentially is immortal. He lives out there in space where the conditions are a lot different, and they allow you to live basically for a very long time, forever in comparison. Also, like I said, the spider symbolism, how the universe is basically a spider web, and Coraline falls into the spider web. She leaves the regular world and she goes out into space. That's what that is. I don't know who these preppy Asian guys are, but they're all basically representing the powers that be, dressed up in white, standing on the checkerboard floor. This is a great episode. I think this is from Doctor Who. They go into this white room where there are all these different portals everywhere, and they're able to travel from one realm to another realm. That's why Apple is always doing stuff in all of that very bright, blindingly white color, right? Because the apple, the whole apple symbolizes the bad guys, okay? It's got an apple, taking a bite out of it. It symbolizes doing the wrong thing, eating the apple, right? And so they use this creamy, milky white color to symbolize that. This is Captain Jack Sparrow when he goes into Davy Jones' locker, right? Which is just passing on through to the other side. He actually has to turn upside down in order to really get here, or his crew does. Then you have these white crabs. Those are also Fantazoids. The Hunger Games, like we already talked about. This is the Black Room. I can't remember the name of this movie, but it's got Scarlett Johansson, which is the main reason why I watched it. I won't lie. Yeah, I definitely checked this out because I heard Scarlett was in it. But she's basically an alien. She goes and abducts these guys who are trying to hit on her, takes them into a black room where they die. That's because the black room is death. You see space? That's space right there, okay? That's what you look up and see. That tells you where you are. When you look up and you see a black sky, that doesn't tell you what that is out there. That tells you where you are. You're in the darkness, you know what I mean? Some more dancers, music videos, Captain Jack Sparrow, everything's white. This is that Doctor Who episode I was telling you about. You know, when he tries to go beyond it, he starts turning into like a digitized form of himself. He's also a very pale, albino-like guy himself. This is from Stranger Things. This is another example of the Black Room. This is where we live. She is astral traveling within our own world here. And you can also tell because of the water reflection down there on the bottom. But this is where bad stuff happens, is in the black room, the dark place, etc. Here's Neo. This is the door he opens to meet the architect of all reality of the Matrix everywhere. Okay? So basically it's God. He's basically meeting God. And when he opens up this door, what happens? Oh, brightness all over the place, right? Here's some lame band. Some guys trying to be cool. Here's a killer clown from outer space, okay? This is David Bowie, all right? But he's in the white room, and the reason why he's wearing all this makeup is not because he's a tranny or he wants to be a girl or, anything like that. This is the killer clown makeup, okay? Those are the killer clowns from outer space. I call them killer clowns because they're the bad guys and they're all white, basically, okay? Just to sum that up. So a lot of these bands, they do their stuff. There's the egg I was telling you about. This guy's sitting there eating toast. Meanwhile, years are passing inside of this tiny little egg-shaped world, which is what our world is probably kind of shaped like. At least a part of it, okay? I actually believe that our world is interconnected with all of the other worlds. Remember, like I said, I see it like a spider world, the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. I think I have a picture of that in here too. Somebody recommended I watch Spider-Man's Into the Spider-Verse. I'm glad you recommended it because it's a super great movie full of esoteric reality and truths. But whenever they go between realities or between dimensions, it shows them going through space, which is a giant spider web. People could argue and say, well, that's because it's Spider-Man, so they wanted to give it a webby. No, man, it's because it's real. That's what I'm saying. So here's Michael Jackson out there in space breaking open the black vessels. That's him trying to break on through to the other side, okay? Whenever you see these things breaking in the movies, it's symbolic of that. I have not seen this particular, I think this is the only Harry Potter I have not seen. I think this is the last one. But allegedly, Harry dies, and this is some sort of heavenly place that looks exactly like a train station, just like the train station that he gets on every movie, right? And he's got his buddy, Dumbledore. I don't know which Dumbledore that is. That's the lame Dumbledore. But anyway, Dumbledore's up there dressed all in white. He's in a heavenly place, which is a train station, just like Cream says in their song, in the white room with black curtains at the station, right? I don't know. I don't think that's very good singing, but... Oh, here's a clip from Labyrinth, right? This is when the girl, Sarah, she leaves Earth. She leaves our world. I mean, in the movie, it's all a dream or whatever. It's a daydream she's having. But she really leaves the actual terrestrial world. She goes up into the sky where she's in this sort of crystal ball, glass ball, dancing around in an actual ball or gala or gala, however you want to say it, which is just another word for milk, right? And you've got all these masked Fantazoid horned creatures out there, including the Goblin King himself, and it's all white. This is all happening in space, right? In space, it's a lot different. So we'll talk about the masquerade another time. I mean, everybody knows this one, right? So I don't even have to really comment on that one. Here's Neo when he's talking to the architect, who's also makes really good Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm sorry, I have to, okay? Anyway, everything's white in this room. Now, all the televisions that you see behind him, these are all of the various realms, okay? That's what that's symbolic of. There are the black checker squares on the checkerboard are the realms that we live in. Those are the places where people can experience life and death and reincarnation, etc. So when you see all the televisions behind him, occasionally they'll all do something different. They all react differently to what's happening right now. And what that is those are the alternate dimensions. Those are the alternate worlds. They're all connected, so they all share similar information. They all grow similar things inside of them, similar people, basically, okay? So there are other realms out there where your DNA may be the exact same thing and your copy is going through similar circumstances, but has all these different possibilities, all these different outcomes. Of course, we've got Coraline in the white world where everything kind of disappears. I hope everything's good in the chat. Let me just pop in. All right, people are chatting. Good. Oh, man. I can't wait to talk to you guys. All right, so more music video. The one-eye symbolism. Everybody's wearing red. The white hair. They come from space. The Fantazoids, etc. These people are just sitting in there. This is the place of all possibility. That's what space is. It's a place of all the possibilities. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. You know why they show them pressed like that up against the glass? Guess. You know why there's white behind them and they're pressed up against the glass looking down at you? Because they're in space and you're not. They're looking down through the glass dome. You see, instead of looking at this, Hollywood plays with perspective. This is not something that's shot head on, like, oh, they're on the other side of a glass wall or something. This is them up there laying down onto the glass dome, looking back down on you. That's what that is. Another music video of the whole white room. Of course, you've got Morgan Freeman playing God. He's dressed all in white because he's a Fantazoid who lives in space, which is also white, which is symbolized by this white room or this white warehouse or whatever. Michael Jackson did a video called Scream. This guy wearing black dropping down into the white room. He's basically flying or floating. The black obelisk in the white room. This is from Resident Evil. Okay. And I believe the specific name of this movie is called Afterlife. You can't make this stuff up. It's called Afterlife. And they're in a giant white room, which is heaven or space, etc. This guy is clearly one of the Fantazoid type of beings. The reason that he's got this monster coming out of him is because he's been infected with the T virus or the space virus, basically. The T will be formed during the plasma apocalypse. Hey, thanks for the donation, Chelsea. Lord Gotham, I'm totally going to get to you guys in just a bit. The T virus is called such because it's the crucifix, it's the cross, it's the Thor's hammer, and that's what you're going to see. You know what? Let me just go ahead and draw it up. But I want to explain this, okay? Because this is real. This type of stuff will enter into our world. There will be Fantazoids that are monsters, basically, that come into our world. Not all of them. I don't want to say they're all bad, okay? I don't like to choose sides. But there will be a predator type of Fantazoid. Now, those Fantazoids, according to the Bible itself, their entire mission is to go around stinging people, to infect them. Well, what happens if you get an infection with some sort of a symbiote or some sort of a virus, just like in this movie right here, and it's actually some sort of interstellar creature or disease that's growing and using your body to, like, you know what I mean, to grow. And then eventually it pops out. And there's a lot of movies that have this mouth within mouth symbolism. He's a Fantazoid, basically. And I believe that he's not just a regular Fantazoid like an alien, but he's an infected one. Infected with the T virus, which I'm going to draw for you right now. It's not really the T virus, but I'm going to show you where that comes from. I'm going to show you the origin of the cross, the crucifix, Thor's hammer, the T virus, all this stuff. So let me get this out. Now, let me preface what I'm about to draw, okay? You have to keep in mind perspective. You have to keep in mind people, depending on where you are in the world and how you see things and, you know, your path, people will see things slightly differently. But I'm going to show you the general, you know, in vague terms. Okie dokie. So let's say that you're alive during the plasma apocalypse. This is your horizon line, right? That's the horizon right there. Way off in the horizon, you notice this blue-white light that shoots up out of the ground. It goes really high up into the sky. Sorry, I have to talk a little louder because I'm further away from the mic. That light shoots straight up into the sky until it hits two things, okay? I'm going to show you the second thing it hits first. So it's going to hit the dome basically first. Well, that's plasma that's shooting up from the middle of our world. That's light in the form of plasma shooting up as a baby blue white beam. So that plasma will shoot up from the North Pole, from the center of our world, and it'll go all the way until it hits the dome. Now it's plasma. Plasma interacts with physical objects. The dome, if there is one, allegedly would be a physical object, right? So imagine what that shape is going to turn into the moment it hits the dome. Right? So now you have this shape in the sky, and this is gigantic. The whole world will be able to see this particular shape emerging from the sky. So it shoots up, it hits the dome, it spreads out because it's physical as well. It's going to spread out and it's going to start trying to basically fill it up. However, it's also going to destroy the dome, okay? It's going to melt right through it. It's going to just continue shooting like a blowtorch until it pops a hole into the dome, or it might just fracture it immediately. I don't know. But either way, it's going to continue on. And it's going to burst up and out. Okay? So it's going to burst up and out. And this is the sign of the Son of Man. This is the sign of Jesus. This is the cross, the crucifix. Now, here's another interesting thing. Like I said, remember how I said there's three heavens? And there is a dividing line up there in our sky where gravity sort of reverses, okay? Now, let's just assume that that's true. Let's just go with it, okay? What that means is that this plasma also might hit the dividing line. Let me go ahead and draw the dividing line for you. Let's just say it's right here. Let's say that that's the point where gravity reverses. So right now, gravity's pulling this way, but up here, it actually pulls this way. And that's the reason why if you look at sprites up in the sky, which is an electrical phenomenon that happens far above lightning clouds, the sprites emerge like this. Half the sprite goes up, the other half of the sprite goes down. That's because that's where they are in the sky. They're at the dividing line. So anyhow, 1 second. So that's the dividing line. So the plasma hits right here, and it naturally wants to come out this direction as well. Right? So now you've got not only the crucifix, but the double cross. The double cross symbolism. That's also Project Bluebeam, by the way. That's also, let me see if I could draw it. That's also, that's Godzilla? I don't know. I'm sorry. That's Godzilla doing his whatever plasma beam weapon he has. Godzilla comes from the middle of the earth. Sorry about that crappy drawing, but let's move on with some more of these pictures here. The white room, virtual reality. Well, it is virtual reality because out there and in here, they're all the same. Okay, they're all a part of an electromagnetic phenomenon. That's basically the higher self or thought. Okay, everything is thought. Everything goes back to thought, and thought physically manifests in the form of brain patterns, etc. So it's all very much the virtual world. This is from Men in Black. In the white place, in order to get out of there, they have to go through this hole and get sucked down. Okay, you can also get sucked down into other realms. You don't have to get sucked up. You can also get sucked down, and that's another video I'll be doing as well. But they're wearing the black and white because they're space travelers. That's the whole reason why. They deal with beings from space. That's their MO. That's the colors that they wear. They're the ones that try to enforce this stuff. This is a PlayStation, really weird, creepy PlayStation commercial. The PlayStation is basically the black monolith. This is inside of this black box is reality. Okay, inside of this black box, there are little characters and stuff that have their own world and their own agenda, and they're completely oblivious to this baby toy or whatever that's just outside, right? Not sure what that one's from. I think that's from a music video or something. Here's the umbrella. See the umbrella in the sky? They use the whole cross symbolism. They also use the umbrella as the covering of our world. And that's Alice. Like, Alice is the one that travels between worlds, hopefully trying to fight the bad guys, right? I would love to do that. I would not mind that whatsoever. Here's another one from the same movie. And they've got the dogs, right? These are the gods, the quote unquote, the gods of heaven. And the same movie, Resident Evil, she's wearing the black, which means she's from here. That's what that indicates. And she's going out into space to fight all of the bad guys. This is the one scene from The Matrix, like I was talking about. Neo wearing his black in Mobile Avenue, right? Which is the train station, which is all white. And they have to take the train to get out of there. Do not pity the dead. Do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. Sounds like Master Splinter. So anyways, he's supposed to be dead. That's why he's in the place of all whiteness, because he's in space. Here's a dude in Imagine Dragons, which pretty much every song of theirs is about the plasma apocalypse. It's about the end of the world, which is why I listen to it. But anyway, white background, he's wearing black. He's also one of the horned creatures. So he's one of the fallen beings that came down here because he's wearing black, which means he's now living here. This is also from Black Mirror. This is a really good episode where this guy goes into a video game in his mind. And as you can see, he starts off in the white room. I forgot the name of this movie, but wow, this was a really good movie too. Get Out, I think it's called, right? See this guy falling or floating through space, and see the box up there that has like the real world or whatnot, and see how he's wearing like sort of gray and white or whatever. I find it to be very symbolic. Anyhow, here's another one. I mean, these can go on and on and on. They're all basically the exact same thing. Tron, all these movies are showing you that space is white. Our reality here is symbolized by the black, by those who live in the blackness, in the darkness, in the death world. Okay, that's why it's a death cult. There's a death cult out there, and they're the ones who have accepted their fate. They're the ones that are okay with dying because, maybe they figured out how to move from body to body, since that's pretty much what you would have to do, right? If you've accepted that you live in a world that's going to insist upon death, then you're going to have to try to find a loophole to that. And the loophole is going to be transferring your consciousness. Westworld, all this is... Oh, that's a good one too. What was that from? I forgot what movie that was. Tom Hanks movie. I forgot. Oh, this one. We've got to talk about this one real quick. I'm sorry, but this is the new Blade Runner. This guy is a robot. He is in a white room. Are we seeing a theme yet? The white room and the robot in the white room? Interesting theme, right? Well, every time he goes into this white room, he has to get programmed before he goes back into the real world. Let me read you his programming. I want to read this to you guys. He has to repeat after what this other guy says in the white room. And I brought it up. I brought up the script. So I want to share the script with you guys. And I'm going to read exactly what's being said here. I lost the script, so I'm going to have to find it again. Blade Runner 20. There we go. Boom. It's not too hard to find. Okie dokie. Now let's do... Can I do screen sharing? Nah, I'll just read it. Let me search for it real quick. I'm going to search for the word interlinked because that's one of the code word that they use in order to program this guy. Boom, interlinked. Okay, so I'm going to read a few of these. I'm going to skip around because there's a couple of them. So he goes into the white room. Now the voice starts talking to him. Okay, Noah, I don't know what his name is, whatever his name is. Talks to the robot. The voice says you have to repeat after me, recite the baseline. That's what they call it. Okay, his programming is called the baseline. This guy's name, by the way, is K. Agent K. Okay, just like Men in Black. Why do you think his name is K? Oh, because he's a robot and he doesn't deserve a real name or whatever? No, it's actually a very symbolic and meaningful name. The reason why they give him the name K is because it's the 11th letter in the alphabet. And 11 sounds exactly like Elven or the L race. Just like the girl whose name is 11 in Stranger Things. They use 11 or the letter K interchangeably to represent the Elven race or the L, the groups who are from the L. Actually, a lot of times they'll use the letter L for exactly that reason. But I digress. Let's keep going forward. So here's what he has to repeat. And blood black nothingness began to spin. Plasma apocalypse. A system of cells interlinked within cells. Interlinked within cells. Interlinked within one stem. Wow, really interesting, right? Within one stem? Well, that's kind of how I draw our world sometimes. I draw it basically having a stem at the bottom. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but let me show you just real quick what I depict the world like sometimes. So we'll get rid of this here. And every time I draw the world, I start off with the sort of a snow globe. However, the world actually is like this. And it's hollow in this area, possibly all the way down, right? So it's a stem. This actually continues on. This goes down into other places and it connects to other realms. And I call that the stem of the world, the stem of the world. Anyway, I found it interesting that they said the same thing in the movie Blade Runner 2049. Cells interlinked within one stem. Now, let's continue on to the next time he starts doing his little thing there. All right, so the interviewer, let's see if I can find it here. The interviewer says, and dreadfully distinct against the dark, a tall white fountain played. Cells, 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 cells. Do they keep you in a cell? Cells. When you are not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells, cells. I'm repeating it because every time the robot guy, he has to repeat it back to the guy who's behind the wall, the guy who's behind the white wall, right? Interlinked, interlinked. What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked, interlinked. Did they teach you how to feel finger to finger? Interlinked, interlinked. Do you long for having your heart? Interlinked, interlinked. Interviewer says, do you dream about being interlinked? Interlinked. Oh no, he actually hesitates during that part. And then he says, interlinked. What's it like to hold your child in your arms? Interlinked, interlinked. Do you feel like there's a part of you that's missing? Interlinked, interlinked. Within cells, interlinked. Within cells, interlinked. Say that 3 times. Within cells, interlinked. Within cells, interlinked. Within cells, interlinked. Then there's a pause. The camera powers down. He says, all right, we're done. Kay, you can pick up your bonus. All right, let me move to the next time he says it, because he says some weird stuff every time. I want to show you guys the other times he says it too. So he says interlinked a bunch right there. All right, here we go. Now the next time he goes through the same process, right? He goes through his programming when he goes back into the white room. And let's see, within cells, interlinked. Oh, you know what? That's actually a different part of the movie. Hold on one second. Ah, here we go. Oh. Well, anyhow, I don't want to, you can easily look this up. I don't want to stay on one thing for too long, but basically, for the sake of time, we're going to stop reading that particular thing. But what he keeps talking about is he's describing space to this robot. He's describing it to him as the white room and the white fountain coming up out of the dark, etc., and the cells and the systems, and that's exactly what's going on whenever they're talking about that. At least that's what I think. It makes sense to me. Here's another image. These are basically Fantazoids. They are bipedal Fantazoids, fractalverse travelers. Here's that same movie with Scarlett Johansson, okay? Now she's in the white room, and she's actually changing to look more like the people do here on Earth. She's getting into character, basically, before she descends, before she falls down into this world. Here's the black room. This is from Stranger Things. Like I said, that's the room of death. This is one of the Fantazoid guys. As you can see, he's got the glowing red eyes like I talked about in my other video when I talked about Brightburn. We're talking about the glowing red eyes of Brightburn. That's just white. I don't know why I have that. Various artists singing, wearing white. The White Room. There's a whole movie called The White Room. All of this is very much symbolic of space and being out in outer space. I think we went through all the pictures there, so I'm going to stop screen sharing with that. Let me make sure I don't have any other images to share with you guys. Oh, I did want to share the Into the Spider-Verse one. So this is from the movie Into the Spider-Verse, and this is what space looks like whenever Spider-Man jumps between realities, as you can see right there, right? It looks like a spider web. And that's why the elite worship the spider as one of their little images, They pay homage to the spider because it is a little creator of a mini universe, a little microscopic universe, if you will. Okay, I'm going to stop doing the screen sharing of the video. I need to check my notes real quick. I want to make sure I don't miss anything, and then I'm going to jump into the chat and chat with everybody. Oh, we also have the entrance to heaven is the pearly gates, right? The pearly gates, pearlescent, that's the color that's being used. The pearl gates, okay? It couldn't be more descriptive accurately. The pearly gates, it all looks very pearlescent. White with a sort of colorful shimmer to it. Look for that. When you're watching the movies or television and stuff, you're going to start to see it. A land flowing with milk and honey, white and gold. We talked about the different levels of heaven in the Bible. We talked about black and white. We read the Blade Runner script. There's something else I wanted to read here too. Oh, in the Bible, I'm just going to read this real quick. This is from Revelation. And it's talking about heaven. Well, I had it highlighted. Oh, here we go. So this is talking about heaven. This is in the last book of the Bible. It says the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each gate was made of a single pearl. The great street of the city was made out of gold, as pure as transparent glass. Well, there is no gold that looks like transparent glass that I've ever seen, right? This is describing, he's just trying to describe what he sees, and he's using earthly terms to describe it. Pearlescent colors out there in heaven, and then the paths or the streets or whatever are a golden kind of a color, right? It's very much bright in heaven or space. He goes on to say, I did not see a temple in the city because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, right? Doesn't need the sun or the moon. That's because the sun and the moon do not exist in space. Isn't that a mind-blowing concept? Just like they don't exist in heaven. Those are local lights for us down here because we are the ones who need them. The city does not need the sun or the moon, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamps. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor to it. On no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. Night equates to darkness. There is no darkness in heaven or in the heavens, which is space, right? Okay, I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Let me close out a couple of these things. I have a lot of stuff happening on my computer, so I appreciate your patience. You know, sometimes when I seem like I'm pausing or I'm not speaking or something, it's because I'm trying really hard to manage everything here on my side. That way my computer doesn't get overloaded with memory and it gets all glitchy or it stops live streaming or something. I have a lot of stuff to do here on my side, so I really appreciate everyone's patience. Let me just double check the notes one more time and then I'm going to jump in the chat. If you have something to say to me, type in at JayDreamerZ and that way I'll see it and then we can chat live here for a little while. We did talk about the root of the word Milky Way, which is Via Lactea, and the root of the word galaxy, which is Gala or milk. The whole galaxy, okay? It's not, come on, is it really called the Milky Way because there's a bunch of stars? It looks like milk up there? No, give me a break, man. That could have been called all kinds of stuff. But all of these circumstantial evidence keep piling up, and you've got the milk symbolism all over the place. The white room, etc. We talked about how in the black and white checkerboard floor, the black squares represent the rooms of death, aka the video game realms. This is the realm where you have multiple lives. You get to try over and over and over, etc. Out there, you can't really die. Out there is where the immortals are. If you want eternal life, you have to get to heaven. Joseph Baker, hey, made a donation. Thanks. Werner von Braun, founder of NASA. Oh, I got to read the rest of it. Hold on. I'm going to bring up all those because I want to thank everyone as well. So, in short, I see space as being milky white, pearlescent, opalescent, sort of a white with a shimmering of color to it, right? I also see space physically as looking more interconnected, that every single world out there is interconnected and touches in some way our world, okay? That it's a giant cobweb, spiderweb, you know, however you want to see it. I see space as being much more beautiful and much more brighter and much more teeming and full of life than how it's been presented to us today in our world, right? Excuse me. Last but not least, before I jump into the chat, I want to give a huge shout out to somebody. I did get a donation from somebody, and sometimes when people use PayPal to donate, you can leave me like a little message. I read all those messages, just so you know. Some of them I might not respond to because it's just like, if somebody's just kind of mentioning something. But this one I definitely want to respond to. And it says, I would give this money to a bartender or a waiter if I went out. It's so bizarre that I caught you. I got home from the hospital because I have a new son. And they're still there. Everything's good. I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. That comes from Slick. Okay, I'm just going to say Slick, not Silk, but that comes from Slick. So I just want to say thank you. Everybody in the chat, I like to celebrate life. I don't know if you guys enjoy celebrating life, but let's blow up the chat real quick with some positive emojis for Slick and his brand new little baby and his addition to his family. I'm very excited about that. Let me go ahead and kick things off. I want to definitely put in some positive emojis for Slick and his little guy or girl. I don't know which one. Boom. All right, I'm gonna put a bunch of really good emojis in there for you, man. I wish you the best, and I love the presence of life. So I'm trying to get back into celebrating more birthdays and things like that. I don't know. I have things I've never really been interested in because I was very selfish. I used to be super selfish. I did not care about life at all. You know what I mean? But now especially the closer the plasma apocalypse comes, that makes everything that happens here so much more important. So hey, man, from me to you, congratulations. I love being a dad, and I hope you will too. Anyway, I am in the chat. I got to pop out the chat real quick because it's like super tiny here on my side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the chat to the public. So right now it's been all members, so all the members could hang out and chat with each other. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody join the chat if you'd like to. Hopefully this works. I hope it works. All right, there we go. So I think I've made it so that anybody can join. Let me just save that. Now, if you have a question or a comment, type in at JayDreamerZ, and I'll go ahead and read your question live here. But first I have to pop out the chat. Sorry. It's just taking me a quick second. There we go. Okie dokie. Got the chat there. Let me make it a little bigger so it's easier on my eyes. See, it's taking a long time to even load the chat. Let me get rid of these pictures and some of these other programs real quick. While I do that, David V's in the chat, and he says, at JayDreamerZ, do you know anything about cows? I know they make milk. And I know they're black and white sometimes. There's obviously holy cow / Hindu reverence, but there's also some theories about cows having unique or engineered biology. Well, I wouldn't doubt that whatsoever, but I do know symbolically the cows represent the Fantazoids. You know, they're the horned creatures or whatnot. They're the space creatures from another world. I know I'm not a cow, so I don't drink cow milk anymore. The white cows represent the Fantazoids that come down into our world. Those are the horned creatures, etc. They're described as beasts, cows, behemoths, many other things. Those are the white cows. Those are the sacred white animals that you can look forward to seeing coming and making themselves present towards the end of time. Good question, David. Rue, I am Groot. Hey, Rue. Oh, you know what? Totally forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm still going to jump in the chat, but I'm also going to pull up the super chats and the new members because I want to give shout outs to these people as well, which includes, wow, Warrior of Love. Hey, let's blow up. Let's do some more emojis, everybody. Warrior of Love, brand new member. Welcome. Rue, I am Groot, says I'm watching. She's with her granddaughter and she donated. Thank you so much for the donation. Vanessa Velaz is a new member. Welcome, Vanessa. Sean Wheeler. Hey, welcome back, Sean. I'm glad to have you. Sean's a good dude. Stephanie McGuire donated and said, at JayDreamerZ, I hope everything's okay. Nobody sees or hears you. Let me explain that real quick. So at the beginning of this live stream, before it ever actually happened, I hit the button. I was really nervous. I'm always nervous to do this stuff. I don't know if you guys know that or not. I think I'm getting better at it. But instead of hitting live stream now, I hit record. So I literally was just recording and nobody saw me. So she was a sweetheart and donated $5 to try to get my attention because the chat was open. The live stream was just waiting for me to press start. So I really appreciate that, Stephanie. Thank you. Free Yo Mind said the astral plane is complete whiteness. I couldn't agree more. D-Man Movies is a new member. Hey, welcome D-Man Movie 50. Cactus J2K is a new member too. Wow, that's so cool. We got some new members. Chelsea Lord Gotham donated and said, I appreciate this topic. Very awesome. Brilliant. As well as Joseph Baker, who donated and said, Werner von Braun, founder of NASA, Psalm 19:1. So please go check out Psalm 19:1 for more information about that. Has to do with the glory of heavens and things of that nature, basically. Let's see. Where's the chat? Boom. There it is. Rue says there's also a rat god in India. They eat them and test them for diseases and live with them. Hey, that's a really good point, Rue, because that reminds me, in India, another thing that they do is that in their holy places and their temples, oftentimes they'll have like platters of milk on the ground to like feed the rats. And not just the rats, but you'll see people feeding milk to like statues of Buddha and various ivory statues of various gods. And then, it looks like they're drinking the milk. Why are they feeding milk to the statues of these gods? Well, because that's what the gods, their gods are from the Milky Place. They're from the Milky Way. They drink the milk. They are inside. They are that white color, basically. Good point, Rue. I'm glad you brought that up. New member, Cactus J2K says, JayDreamerZ, have you seen the movie The Ash Lad in the Hall of the Mountain King? Very esoteric movie. It's on Amazon Prime. Cactus, do me a favor, leave that comment as a reminder in the comments section. And later on, when I go over the comments, I'll see it. And I probably will watch it because it sounds really interesting. Thank you very much. Joseph Baker also definitely agrees with you. Logic is in the chat. Hey, what's up? What's up, Logic? Logic just says heart. Let's see here. What's up, JayDreamerZ? By the way, the cows were said to be the domestic herd animals that the people from above brought with them back when things were a mess on Earth. The ancient reset cycle. Hey, guess what? I could absolutely see space cows as being very real. Not just because of that, but if you think about the movie Kong, all right, because for those of you who don't know me, I find a lot of truth in the movies. That's why I actually do a segment called Truth in Movies, right? But if you look at the movie Kong Skull Island, there's a gigantic cow in the movie. It's a titanic cow, right? And like I said, the things out there in space typically to be gigantic. That's where the giants come from. That's where the titans come from. They come down here and they start to, shrink because they're an enclosed system. But yeah, absolutely. The animals as well. The dolphins coming from space. Even in Scientology, I think that they have this, I think they talk about this in Scientology. But even if they don't, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has the dolphins taken off at the end of the world because they're like, we're out of here. Basically, they're saying that the dolphins used to be from space, okay? And the whales used to be from space. A lot of those sea creatures used to live in space. So it's not surprising to me. And it's also not surprising that sea creatures can grow to be so big. It's in their genes, Let's see here. What else? Oh, and not only that, but Ymir also walked around with the giant cow, right? That's a really good point there. Man, sorry, the chat's going a little fast. Cactus brought up a really good point about space cows, okay? I'm going to call everything space something because it sounds cool, but space cows, basically. Alien cows, right? Bovine aliens. You got, what's his name? What's the giant's name? Paul Bunyan, right? Paul Bunyan walks around with Blue, the big, gigantic, titanic cow, basically, or ox, or whatever it is, right? Same thing with Ymir. Ymir had a little, basically, buddy who was a cow, and he was a titan. Excellent point. Excellent point. Jew Flat Earther. I think that's, I'm sorry, I don't know if that's supposed to be Jew. XJW Flat Earther says, at JayDreamerZ, do you believe in the Mandela effect? I believe in everything. Boom. I'm putting it down like that. I believe in everything, man. But everything has been twisted. So I'm just trying to untwist everything. That's all. Do you believe in the Mandela effect? Yes, I do. Since I noticed Dolly's braces in Moonraker disappeared. That also blew my mind. I'm going to tell the truth. That girl has braces, period. She's supposed to have braces, all right? Now, all of a sudden, she doesn't have braces. That's because we live in a fractal verse, and there are other realms out there, other pods, other flowers, other pieces, whatever you want to call them, and they all have the same energy going in. They all make very similar, if not the exact same set of humans or people in those worlds. There very well may be another world where some of the energy is getting mixed up between worlds. Some of the information is getting mixed up between worlds. And we're remembering something that did not actually happen here in this world. Possibly. I'm just saying. Anyhow, I did a really good video on the Mandela effect. Feel free to check it out. Let's see here. Lori thinks I'm 38. Well, thank you. I'm actually 39. I'll be 40 in September. Believe it or not. I will be 40 years old in September. Getting to be an old man. There's some gray hairs. See that gray right there? Little patch. Yep. All right, back into the chat. Let's see here. Paul Bunyan and his giant cow. Thanks, Joseph. Joseph remembered who it was. Twilly Mist. Wait. Twillet Mist. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Twillet Mist. We'll say that. Twillet Mist says... And the Mormon temples, when they do their baptisms for the dead, and, Twilly did that once, you are repeatedly baptized in a giant water bowl held up by cows, 7 or 9, I think, maybe even 11. Wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, definitely space cows. That has not occurred to me until just now. And I'm so glad I get to hang out with like-minded individuals who can come up with wonderfully ridiculous things like that resonate with me. Man, I'm proud of you guys. David V says, JayDreamerZ, have you seen Interstellar 555? If you have revisited this topic, it's some good visuals for space, and it also features blue Smurf aliens that are cloned into humans. I don't know if I've seen the movie called Interstellar, which is also very, very esoteric and has a lot of truths in there, by the way. They call NASA right out in that movie. I love it. But I don't know if I've seen one that has all the 5s with it. Remember, the 5s are V in Roman numeral. The V is the Vav, which is really a 6. A 5 is really a 6. Interesting, right? 5 fingers, 6 fingers. Interesting, they're right there. Let's see here. Dennis LUK says, Mandela effect is all digital media. It's very easy to change it. Oh, I don't doubt that whatsoever. When you know how something works, it tends to be very easy, right? The problem is there are a lot of people who are not in the know. Seraph. Hey, what's up, Seraph? Seraph, I believe the word seraph actually is directly related to the word fire and light. There are the seraphim in the Bible, and they are the fiery beings, the beings of fire. Now, that's another thing, too, by the way. With all of my knowledge and remembering all the different stuff I've learned in the Bible, there are a lot of monsters in the Bible, man, including a lot of these angels that have like 6 arms and, various sets of wings and stuff like that. Like, it kind of sounds like they're describing some Fantazoids to me, right? The fiery angel. Anyway, Seraph says David Hewlett is an esoteric master. Check out his movies titles. Oh my God. Yeah, I'll definitely, I have to remember David Hewlett. I'm not sure who David Hewlett is. So you could probably remind me. Seraphim termed fiery lizard, yes. Jay Johnson says, is this chat live? Well, yeah. It's pretty much live. So, welcome, Jay Johnson. Okay, so does anybody... I'm so sorry. Like, I want to... I'm going to hang out in the chat for as long as you guys have questions. That's basically it. My throat hurts because... as many of you who came late probably don't know, I thought I was live streaming for a good 45 minutes before I realized I was not live streaming. So I've actually done this video twice now. I apologize for that. I'm trying real hard to get a lot better at what I do, especially not being so nervous. That's what it is. I get a little nervous right at the last second, like I start sweating and I get really nervous, and there's a lot of stuff on my computer screen that I have to hit in the right order. So I get kind of nervous that I'm going to mess it up. And guess what? I always mess it up. So anyway, I did that. So, I'm ready to go relax and, enjoy the rest of the day. So yes, we'll take a few more minutes here. Does anybody have any questions in the chat room? I did open up the chat to the public. That way, anybody who is watching, you can jump in now. If you have a question, just type in @JayDreamerZ, or if you have a comment, and we'll hang out for a little while longer. I hope that some of this has resonated with you guys. I hope that you guys have found something of substance in the information that I've presented to you. If you would like me to recover any topic that I've discussed so far, feel free to throw it out there. I'll be more than happy to go into more detail on it right now while you have me. You could probably figure out my zodiac sign. I don't like giving out too much personal information, just because, I don't know everybody. I'll tell you what happened. I posted my zodiac chart one time, my natal chart, and I got a lot of suggestions from people saying, hey bro, you should probably take that down because that's a lot of personal information about you that dark forces could potentially use against you. And that made a lot of sense to me. So, I'm not a big fan of giving out super personal information because of that. And also because I have a family and you know what I mean? I want to respect their privacy and stuff like that. But you could probably figure it out. I mean, I did just tell you when my birthday is, so. Just Saying says, nothing is original. Martin Kinney is the truth. Wrong. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You're partially correct. Everything's the truth. Martin Kinney's the truth. Mud Fossils is the truth. I'm the truth. And, the people out there who you don't like are the truth. And all the things that are happening in the world are the truth. The good, the bad, the ugly. It is all truth. And that's something we really need to learn to see. The truth in all things. People like Martin Kinney, people like myself, we can look into this and because we see the truth in all things, we can learn to unravel it. We know how it's supposed to go. I mean, not completely. I'm not trying to brag or anything at all. But I am saying that, there are people like us out there, like Martin Kinney. Okay. He's got a great YouTube channel and he's got a great little, idea about our cosmology and about our universe and our world, which I would love to talk to him. So if he's watching, I would love to chat with you about it. But this is why, because it's not because we see lies everywhere. That's not where we can get this information from. You don't connect to lies in order to have these types of revelations and information come to you. You get rid of the lies. You don't even acknowledge that a lie even exists. All you see is the truth. everywhere, because the truth is what holds everything together. The truth is the ultimate good. And people like myself believe in the ultimate good. And because it's ultimate, there can be no real bad. Bad is just on the scale of a lower version of reality called polarity. But anyway, I digress. Yes, shout out definitely to Martin Kenny's channel. Twilly Mist says, do you catch my comment a while back about the plasma apocalypse / breaking through the dome, even being an intruding electromagnetic field upon Earth? No, I didn't. Guys, if I didn't read your comments in the past, that means I didn't see it, basically, okay? You got to remember, there's like hundreds of people watching, okay? I'm not just sitting there looking at the chat like you guys are, on your phone, able to read everybody's comments, okay? I'm looking at multiple things all happening on my side, as well as stuff that's actually here in the bedroom, and I'm trying to read, and I'm trying to look for my name. So no, I did not get to everybody's comments. So you don't need to ask me if I've read it. Just simply ask it again. That's all. Just re-ask the question. I'll be more than happy to read it if I happen to catch it, right? I can't read everybody's comments. On the comments section, I can't read the whole chat. That's why I like to do the members only for a little bit. But let me get back to this. Let's see here. Sorry. I'm trying to find where I was here. Plasma apocalypse breaking through the dome event being an intruding electromagnetic field. What do you think about it? I think it's plasma. I mean, hey, Renan Godoy just subscribed. Walking into the room. Welcome, Renan. Yeah, I think it's plasma. So check this out, everybody. If you want to ask me a question, I'm happy to answer your questions or respond to them as best as I can. But also, I highly recommend, please go watch my playlists that I've made full of information about all this type of stuff, because the odds are very good that you're going to find these answers in that playlist. Okay. I'm more than happy to answer the questions, but yes, I think it's the plasma fingers, right? Here's the plasma fingers reaching down through into our world, because a hole opens up in our atmosphere or our sky or the dome, however you'd like to see it. And that's what I think about that. Mother Dragon says, JayDreamerZ, the TARDIS's original interior was all white. I did not know that, but guess what? Makes sense now, doesn't it? Vanessa Velaz says, JayDreamerZ, I'm not sure if you ever spoke on the movie The Dark Crystal, but that's a good one. You know what? I totally agree with you. I might have to do that one someday. Possibly. But yes, I totally recommend The Dark Crystal. That's a gem as far as movies go. All right, where was I? Hadley Janek says, JayDreamerZ, good day, kind sir. I hope all is well and much love from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I hope all is well with you too. Twilly Miss says, no, I asked this comment under a video you made 2 or 3 weeks back. No, okay, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, there's no way I'm going to remember a comment from like 2 weeks. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to be very realistic to set an expectation for the future, so that hopefully other people who are watching don't ask me if I remember their comment from 2 weeks ago or whatever. Like, I don't, and I'm sorry. It's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's just because of the quantity of people that I'm talking to. You know what I mean? It takes me a very long while to remember various people. Like, there's certain people in the chat who've been members for like months. And so I know a lot of those people. I'm getting to know them very well. So it's not, I hope you don't take it personally. It's just, I just honestly don't remember. Did I end up watching the film Fantastic Planet? No, not yet. I have not watched that one yet. I've got a lot of movies on my to-watch list. Joseph Baker says, JayDreamerZ, you should read The Cave of Treasures, translated from the Vatican Vaults by Giuseppe. A lot of that reminds me of your plasma apocalypse when the tentacles came down and raised the dead. Absolutely. You know what? If I happen upon the Cave of Treasures, I will check it out. Listen, guys, do me a favor. If you have a suggestion, if you want me to go watch something, you want me to go read something, you want me to do anything, please don't tell me in the live chat, because I'm not going to remember. The moment I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to purposefully forget right now. If you want to remind me to check something out, either email me if you're a member and I will check it out, or you can leave it in the comments, and if I happen upon it, I might check it out. I'm just throwing that out there. I sound like I'm cranky right now. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm so sorry. I think I need to wrap this up. I'll take a couple more of these here. There's a link for JayDreamerZ videos. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate that. XJW Flat Earther, do you think Mount Meru in the North Pole is the place where the original tree of life is located, mentioned in Genesis and lots of other legends, that was cut down? No, I don't, actually. In a way, yes, in a way I do. Remember when I drew that blue beam shooting up out of the middle of the world? That's the tree of life, okay? That's the tree of life, basically. It is shooting up into the sky. Everyone's going to be able to see it. And I'm not sure if there is a mountain. I'm not sure. I'm still looking into it. I'm still researching the North Pole itself, because that's a part of my jump program study that I'm doing right now. It's all about the jump program and having to jump when you're at the North Pole, because there may be actually a hole there instead of this mountain. I don't know. I'm still looking into it, so I don't want to, I don't want to give you any answers or anything because I'm not sure. Let's see. What are my thoughts on David Icke, says Jamie Brown. I don't know. I never met the dude. I can say that I've read a few of his books and I love how he thinks outside of the box. I would love to chat with David Icke because I want to share with him some of the information about the Fantazoid type of beings that are out there, so that hopefully he can relate them instead of lizards. Instead of relating these extraterrestrial ancient godlike beings to lizards, right? To me, that's like equating mankind to monkeys. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't sound very respectful. It doesn't sound like it sounds like it's missing something. I would love to talk to David Icke and bounce some of my ideas off of him so that he can share it with his audience, which is far greater people for the time being. Do you remember that one time at band camp when the girl grabbed your tentacle? All right. What are you even talking about? All right. See, this is why I don't open up the chat to the public, man. All right, hold on. Let's just remove that. Yeah, I don't understand, man. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to stop reading the rest of the comments right now because my energy's a little bit off. I don't know where that's coming from. Yes, I'm a little bit irritated, but I'm trying not to be. It's just, this is why I don't open up the chat to the public. You know what I mean? I try really hard, but honestly, from now on, unless it's a premiere, we're probably just going to keep it members only, because people don't become members in order to like do weird stuff in the chat. You know what I mean? And a lot of the members, they've been watching for so long that they kind of know how things go, so they're not likely to ask me like the same questions. I mean, can you imagine? Let's just pretend like I opened up the chat to the public for the next 10 years. That's 10 years worth of brand new people who don't know anything about my content asking the same question over and over and over and over and over again, right? That's why I've got these moderators and members in the chat. They're very helpful, and they're going to throw out links, and they're going to tell you, hey, you could find that here and blah, 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 etc. Me, I want to move forward from all that stuff. So, it's not a personal thing. It's not about making money or anything like that. For me, this is the way it's got to be. So I love you guys. I'm glad that you stayed to watch the whole video. I'm sorry about my energy being a little off. I'm going to go take care of that right now. And I'm going to have a great weekend and see you guys on Sylvan Lining Tuesday, when I'm going to be recharged and we're going to come right back to some good vibes. Anyway, with that being said, good vibes and good vibe. I can't even talk. Good vibes and goodbye. I'm JayDreamerZ. I'll see you guys next time.